This series is called What's Your Drive? Where I basically pick people up, we go on a little drive and we have a little chat. And for the people that might not know you, everyone, this is Marc Randolph. He's the co-founder and the first CEO of Netflix, and he's currently in London to promote his new book. So first off, how is London for you?
Oh, it's been pretty great. What a cool city.
Do you come often?
No, I haven't been in about 2 years, but I was just on the phone with my wife last night saying we got to come back because we're here in Europe in a few months, and so we're definitely going to plan to spend a few days here.
So in life, I've read a few things, and one of the things that I was quite happy about was I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I always had this pressure on me to be successful before I turned 30. And I remember, I'm 29, and I remember I was reading something and it said you and Reed Hastings, when you was, I think, was it late 30s?
Yeah.
Founded Netflix.
38.
38. Could you tell us a little bit more about that at the beginning?
Netflix was actually my 6th startup.
Oh, wow.
So even though I was 38 before the big one came, I'd pretty much been doing entrepreneurial stuff my whole life. But I love the fact that take your time. I mean, there's so much pressure on kids now, know what you're gonna do. You've got to know, and it's just not true. I mean, my whole backstory is this meandering series of jobs which don't appear to necessarily have a sequence. But for example, I was a junk mail, a direct marketing person. So I mailed thousands, about millions of pieces. I did magazine subscriptions. I did a lot of personalization stuff. But those 3 things, all of a sudden, when the internet came along, were just what Netflix needed. So the seeds got planted a long time before they actually got used.
Yeah.
And I never could have been ready to do Netflix when I was younger. You need the background, and you're just never sure where that stuff's going to come from.
And you say personalized objects, you had to pitch in a car, right? With loads of things, and you said you got personalized cats and dogs or something like that?
Well, not the personalized cats and dogs. Personalized cats and dog food.
Food, yeah.
That's a much easier one to personalize.
Yeah.
I love the idea, though, of a personalized pet. But no, it was true. This is way back in 1997 when probably a lot of your audience
I was 7 years old.
Well, you wasn't born yet.
They're going to be very young, yeah.
But, and I was... I knew at that point just a couple of things. One, I was going to start another company. Number 2, it was going to involve selling something on the internet. And if possible, I wanted it to involve personalization. In other words, the ability to do something different for each individual person. But I was open to what it was. And I had a friend who I was working for at the time named Reed Hastings. He's the current CEO of Netflix. And he agreed that he'd be my angel investor. I would start and run it, he would fund it, he'd be on the board, but we needed the idea. And we drove to work every day. Wasn't quite a car as nice as this one.
It was a carpool.
Yeah, it was a carpool together.
Yeah.
And in the carpool, we brainstormed ideas. And the way it would work is he'd pick me up in the morning and get in the car. We had 40 minutes, just like this, and I'd pitch him my idea. I go, man, personalized shampoo by mail.
Yeah.
And he'd sit and look out the window and he'd go, that'll never work. And then he'd explain why, and we'd argue and go back and forth, or I'd get to the office and I'd spend time researching it and then get back in the car and fill him in on what I'd learned. And we did that for months. And one of the ideas was video rental by mail. Genius. Not really. Because back then, this is even further back than you guys remember, video came on those video cassettes.
Tapes,
those
big, Blockbuster.
Yeah, those heavy, expensive, delicate things. And my little research said not going to work. But what turned it around is one day in the car, Reed mentioned that he'd read about this thing called the DVD. And we go, what's that? He goes, well, it's a movie, but it's on this, on a CD, really thin and small. And that gave us an idea. And we didn't rush off and do a business plan. We didn't do a pitch deck. We turned the car around right then and there, drove back down to the town we lived in. And listen, no one had a DVD. It was in test market. And so we bought a used music CD. And then we went 2 doors down to a stationer's and bought a little gift envelope, like you'd put a greeting card in, put the CD in the envelope, and mailed it to Reed's house in Santa Cruz. And the next day, when he picked me up in the car, he just held up the little envelope.
He was like, success.
Yeah, he said, he didn't even say anything. He just kind of smiled.
Okay.
And that was the moment we said, this just might actually work. This could be the thing that makes that old video rental by mail thing work. I told my wife, I've got this great idea, do video rental by mail. And she goes, that'll never work. And everyone said that. And the truth is they were right, because as we originally envisioned it, which was you mail it, someone orders off the internet, and then you mail it to them, and then they have a 7-day rental, then they got to mail it back. Due dates, late fees. And not surprisingly, in retrospect, people thought that was pretty stupid.
Yeah.
So they'd try it once, and then they'd never try it again.
And you say like you was in the car. How many carpools did you have to got to the one where Reed was like, yes, this is the one?
Well, let's see. It was probably 3 months of us brainstorming
every
ideas.
day.
Every day. Yeah. So that's 20 days a month. So that would be 60 different. No, because it's 2 ways. 120 trips.
Wow.
Yeah. The thing is, everyone thinks that a startup is this moment. This one moment where it all becomes clear, the revelation, but it doesn't happen like that. Most ideas are bad ones, and you can't tell the difference between a good one and a bad one. What you have to do is try them. And listen, if you tell someone your idea, and they go, that'll never work, the answer is no one knows anything. No one can ever know whether your idea is a good one or a bad one until you try it. And so what I've learned is, rather than arguing, is it a good idea or a bad idea? Or even worse, building this idea up in your head and imagining it and making it more and more elaborate. Forget that. It's a waste of time. Just figure out a quick and cheap and easy way to test it, to collide your idea with reality.
Would you say that's the best way of doing it, of going out there? Because some people will, like you say, like stop themselves, talk themselves out of actually starting it. Like, do you believe you just go out there, learn from it, make the mistakes, and just go forward?
Absolutely. I mean, I am the thing that separates the people who can make their dreams a reality are the people who are predisposed to action. They think less and they do more. I mean, what you're talking about, that's what I call building a castle in your head. And you start with this little simple idea, but instead of doing it, you start dreaming about it, and then you add on a room, and then you build a second story, and then you put a roof, and then you put turrets and gargoyles and build a swimming pool. And now, of course, your idea is huge, and of course you can't do it. It's too expensive, you need people to help you, and then you have the excuse. I can't do it because I need to raise money. I can't do it because I need a business degree. I can't do it because I need a partner. Blah, 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 blah.
And you say that will never work. That was obviously the famous sayings and the name of your book. Did you ever believe that? Like, how did you just keep going with the sort of thought that it was going to happen?
Yeah, it's a good question. It gets discouraging.
Yeah.
And I'm very persistent. I'll keep trying and trying. But you'll see, the reality is that if you fall in love with your idea, you'll be very discouraged. But if you fall in love with the problem, it becomes infinitely fascinating, because each thing you try, you learn more about the problem. And the problem never goes away. The problem is always more interesting. That's what's so cool about that. So when people say, I have this idea, and they get stuck on their idea, I call that as a solution in search of a problem.
That is what I always say, because the reason I started this channel, my original SBTV, was because the videos that I wanted to watch weren't being put online. So I thought, let me try and create a solution, which then was obviously a lot of other people's problems as well, which then created a mass viewership. Like, that would never work. Like, why did you write this book? What's the whole process behind it? Because I know you do a lot of mentoring now, like you're an environmental advocate, like there's loads of stuff that you do. Like, what was the importance of creating this book?
Well, I left Netflix 16 years ago, and I didn't think I had it in me to start another company, but I knew that I couldn't leave it behind. And so I decided that I would get my fix. I would handle my addiction by working with other entrepreneurs, helping them. And I've done that for a long time. Then I began working with university kids and helping them piece together their ideas and their problems and solutions. And it was amazing. I kind of realized that all this stuff that I learned in my 40 years as an entrepreneur was exactly the same stuff that you could use for any problem. Didn't need to be a business problem. I mean, you say, God, I'd love to live in the central business district, but it's so expensive. I have an idea. It's the same problem. How do I get that promotion? How do I, I don't know, in school, when you have the speech at the end, when you're graduating, and they always say the same thing, which is follow your dreams.
Chase your dreams, not the competition. That's what I always say.
There you go. But where's the class on how? There's no class called Follow Your Dreams 101. And what I realized is that I know how to do this. And I can teach this. And so this book is my sharing of everything I've learned about how to make a dream come true. But it's not laid out like, you do this, you do this. I wanted to show you for real how it's really done. That's why I wrote the story about how we started Netflix. Not because it's a business book, but it's a story of a real person with real problems and real struggles balancing life and work. And all those issues, how I did that, and the things I used, and then try and make them lessons there. But it's not heavy. It's an example, which I'm really trying to unlock people. The same thing I think that you're trying to do.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like everyone's got their passion inside them, and it needs to be unlocked. So it's like I unlocked my passion when I was 15. Like my friend's nan unlocked her passion when she was 8. She's got a knitting business and she's been in work all her life, and it's like everyone has it inside them, and it's just like certain things which unlock it.
Yes.
But I think everyone's got it inside them somewhere. And do you think that people are born entrepreneurs or nurtured as entrepreneurs?
I think you're nurtured, because what entrepreneurship is risk taking. And if you're brought up in an atmosphere where every time you take a challenge someone beats you down, if you're young, you internalize, I can't take risks. That is dangerous or bad. Whereas if you're brought up where you're encouraged, every time you try something, you're encouraged, it helps. So people who take into it early, that comes from that. The other thing is, I noticed, probably you noticed this, you were the same when you were young, that the genetic marker, I think, for entrepreneurship is what I call candy arbitrage. When someone notices when they're a kid that I can buy the candy for 10 cents at the grocery store and sell it at school for $1.
Yeah. There was a guy in my school that used to do that.
Yeah.
By bulk. Because there's a shop called Macro where you can just buy like loads and then obviously make a profit.
And it's people like that, what they're doing is they're seeing a problem and they're seeing this unbalance, and they just see it and they leap in. They're compulsively driven to fill that hole. That's the other thing that happens. But I think most people have that in them, and I think you calling it unlocking is exactly right. It is just unlocking this thing that everybody has a dream. I mean, and but you have to scale your dream to what your ability is. If your dream is to invent a new piece of medical technology, the X-ray, you're not going to do that in your attic or your backyard. So you got to start smaller with something you're capable of, and it's like a muscle. The more you practice, the easier it gets.
Was there a time where you thought you really you made it, and that helped push you through? Was there a time?
No, unfortunately, one of the skills of being an entrepreneur, in others in the financial aspect, the business side of it, not someone just with a dream, a simpler dream, but is paranoia. You can't help it. You're always worried about what's next. And in some ways, doing a startup is like you see this mountain in front of you, and you claw your way up, and your fingers are bloody, and you collapse on the top, and you're sweaty, and you catch your breath, then you look up, and it was just a false summit. There's another mountain which is coming up next, and you go, ugh, and you climb your way up that one, and you collapse on the top and look up, and there's another one. For example, at the beginning, we said, okay, we want to be as big as a single Blockbuster store. That's about $1 million a year. And it didn't take us that long. took us 3 or 4 months. And at first we said, wow, we've done it. And then we realized we're as big as one Blockbuster store. There's 9,000 Blockbuster stores.
Wow.
So we go, oh my gosh. And then of course we pass Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh my God, HBO, 50 million subscribers. And then we get to 150 million subscribers and you go, oh my God, there's 1.5 billion plus internet users. I mean, there's always more and there's always some new change or some threat. So, no, I never think, okay, I've made it. I can relax a little bit.
And there's a lot of discussion now, like how social networking sites and streaming services like Netflix have influenced pop culture forever. Do you think that's the case, and do you think it's for better or for worse?
Well, listen, Netflix is now a verb. I mean, who would have? I did not see
a verb.
Well, Netflix and chill, young man.
Oh yeah.
Come on, get with it, for God's sake.
Yeah, if you said
supposed to be hip.
No, yeah, of course. If you say Netflix and chill, then yeah, it makes sense. Oh gosh, but yeah.
No, see, you're aging out of this demographic. I'm sorry.
Oh man.
No, it's so listen, it does influence the culture, but it still amazes me when it does. Like my wife and I still will hear someone on a television show talk about, oh, we're going to go watch some Netflix, and hey, did you hear that? They said Netflix. Like, can you believe this stupid little idea actually is all over the world now?
And have there been many downfalls in your career? Like, I know obviously you've had a lot of successes. Have there been any times where you've just been like, you really don't know, or like?
Yeah, sure. There's absolutely dark times. There was a moment where, ironically, we had finally figured it out. We had figured out how to make video rental by mail work. But we were giving away the first month free, and we were going broke because it was so successful. Orders were flooding in, but because the first month was free, we were hemorrhaging money. And this was also right when the .com bubble had burst. So we couldn't raise more money. And I remember at night, I was sitting there looking out at the parking lot and all the cars that were still there, people working, and thinking, oh my God, I'm responsible for all those car payments. I'm responsible for those people, their income. And we've got to figure this out. And that was really, really scary and really heavy. And it is part of, as a company gets bigger, you have responsibilities like that. But I'll give you another good one, another dark time, hard time. It wasn't dark, it was hard. So this was not long after we'd started, and I was CEO, I was running the company, and Reed Hastings was our biggest investor. He was chair of the board. And late one night, he knocks on the door, pokes his head in, and I wasn't expecting him, and he says, Mark, we got to talk. And I don't know whether your mom ever said that to you.
Yeah, quite a few times.
It does not lead to something good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But when she says that, I'm like, oh gosh, what is it about?
Yeah, she uses your whole name with your middle name and the whole thing. But he goes, we got to talk. And I went, uh-oh. He basically began telling me the things he was concerned about. But not just about the company, but about my leadership, my judgment, my hiring, really being very blunt about what he saw. And he was saying, listen, this is not catastrophic now, but we're small now. What I'm worried about is what happens when we get bigger. And I thought he was going to fire me. Or he's going to say he was going to sell the company. I didn't know what he was going to propose. But what I eventually realized he was saying is, he said, I think it's stronger if we run this company together. He was proposing joining the company as CEO, and I'd be the president, and we'd run it together. And this was hard because when I had started the company, I'd had this dream of running a successful company. And I realized that was not one dream anymore. It was really two separate dreams. And that the dream about successful company was not just my dream. I mean, that was a dream now that was shared by the employees who were all working to make it successful, and the investors, even the customers. And I realized, what do I do when these dreams might conflict, when running the company may in fact not be the thing that leads to the most likely success. And ultimately I decided Reed was right, that it was hard to argue that the company would be more successful if we ran it together.
Yeah.
And Reed came in as CEO, I became president, and although emotionally it was hard to give up on that dream of it being my company, in the end that was the smartest thing I ever did. Those next few years were kind of the renaissance for Netflix. So many of the amazing things that we came up with happened then when there was the two of us working together. And then certainly even since I've left, if you look at what's happened with Netflix, making that decision to have my ego be less, to make the company more, was probably one of the smartest things I ever did.
These sort of examples, what are, like, is this the sort of stuff that people can expect in a book? What else can they expect from the book?
What I'm trying to do is be brutally honest. And so I do talk about the things that actually went into figuring it out. They talk about how the idea we started with, the book's subtitle it's called That Will Never Work, The Birth of Netflix and the Amazing Life of an Idea. Because it is about how it's not about the idea. It's about the path an idea takes as it changes and gets influenced by more people. And I want people to see how we went from one thing to another, how we were scrappy at the beginning in this office with smelly carpet and beach chairs, that it was not immediately this big successful thing. I want them to see how I balanced my home life with starting a business. That the things you have to do to ensure that you're not just successful as a business person, but you're successful as a husband or a wife or a parent or a child. I just want them to see the whole picture, but hopefully I want them to see that when they give us a great idea and they come running down and they tell their parents or they tell their classmates or their teacher or their boss their idea, and that person says that will never work, I want them to see that sometimes it does.